Okay, APers, we got a couple of things to talk about and finish up from our discussion on Friday regarding Chapter 32. Just a reminder, you always have your book to look at in case you have any questions as a reference. You can also email me if you have any questions as well. We left off talking about the isolationism of the United States with the Hawley-Smoot tariff and how during President Hoover's time in office, there's a lot of prosperity at first. Then the Hawley-Smoot tariff kind of turned up the import tax to almost 60%, and it really had a negative impact on the global economy. Essentially, it went against the trend that was going on, lower tariffs in the world. It slowed trade, and it would deepen the depression. Actually, that slower trade would deepen the depression when it hit. And it also helped to move the U.S. into full-fledged isolationism. And I believe we left off with that on Friday. Now, moving on to the Great Depression and of course, the Great Crash and the end of the Golden 20s. The stock market Black Tuesday occurred on October 29th, 1929. So October 29th, 1929, the bottom drops out of the stock market, and there's some bad economic news pretty much all over the country and all over the world. Stockholders lost about $40 billion in value of their portfolios by the end of 1929. Now, some people think that this was potentially caused by Great Britain maybe raising their interest rates, and as a result of that, a lot of U.S. investors pulling out and putting their money into Great Britain, and that's kind of how the stock market may have tumbled. But by and large, a big issue was over-speculation, and we'll get to that in just a second here. But all right, the stock market was triggered by basically there's four main things here that kind of caused the circle of bad news with the stock market crashing. The first one is that businesses began to go out of business. Since people could not and would not buy, they couldn't afford it, they're losing their money. Unemployment shot up. Over 5,000 banks, this is number 3, unemployment was number 2, this is number 3, over 5,000 banks went bankrupt. And the number 4 is the only things that were going up were homeless shelters and soup kitchens. So it was really a rough time. Other things to remember about the stock market crash is that the causes of the Great Depression were deeper. A lot of it was not just the crash, but the Great Depression also was caused by basically a lot of over-speculation. So we got this recession, and it's kind of caused by over-speculation of stocks, people purchasing things on margin. And of course, it was also a Great Depression of the world. It wasn't just the United States. Also, there were a lot of natural disasters like the Dust Bowl. It was coming soon. That's going to, cause even more problems with this depression. Of course, people moved into things called Hoovervilles. These were the people who were kind of out of work, out of their homes. They were in debt, and Hoovervilles were basically these shanty towns that people were kind of forced to live in because they had nowhere else to go. Hoover at first was very reluctant to do anything with the Great Depression. His theory was basically to try to let the business cycle run its own course and let the private sector make any improvements that they had to. However, he soon found out that this wasn't as simple as just pulling yourself up by your bootstraps and getting better. He ended up passing the Reconstruction Finance Corporation. This would actually lend money to finance massive government projects for FDR's New Deal coming forward, so they would use it. There was also a Hoover Dam that was started up as kind of an infrastructure an infrastructure dam in the Western United States during his time period. Basically, Hoover kind of morphs from somebody who is in favor of just big businesses only to realizing that there might be some job or some role of the government to help get over this depression. The last couple of things here, just to real quick, make sure you guys review the bonus expeditionary force. I have a hard time with that one. The BEF, that's the bonus army. They wanted their bonuses from World War I, and of course they went to Washington D.C. to protest, and they were evicted by General Douglas MacArthur, who used excessive force. This was MacArthur was a hero, and you know, he ends up hurting Hoover quite a bit with his actions on the bonus army. And then, of course, the last things you need to know regarding regarding this chapter is we've got the Stimson Act, which is issued. It basically says that the U.S. will not recognize any territory acquired by force, and of course this is a result of Japanese militarists taking over in China. They invaded Manchuria and kind of set up this puppet state, which kind of plays into what ends up happening in World War II. And of course, also, last but not least, Hoover kind of lays the groundwork for the good neighbor policy. He basically tells Latin America that, you know, we're on their side, and kind of ended the idea of American imperialism in South America as far as dollar diplomacy was concerned. Alright, that's it. That's all you're going to get from me for Chapter 32. Have fun and study hard. See you tomorrow.